I was going to say that, I mean, absolutely, it's all about story. I mean, the way, I mean, and I say that definitively in the sense that, I mean, you look at, I mean, Hollywood knows that if you tell a good story, you can change the way people think. And I've always thought it was at the detriment of any of all the other different ways of thinking. They're like, oh, well, we'll put the facts and figures out there, and then people will see the truth. But it's a very, actually, I think, a minority mind of sort of the rational, logical. Oh, you can see it, assess it. The critical thinking is on the wane. We're actually looking at the objective world is under attack, and it's almost like we're facing this subjective presentation these days that doesn't make sense to a lot of us, but the people who are presenting that know what they're doing. Why? We are oral storytelling creatures. I mean, the written word and the presentation of facts and figures is only a couple millennia old, really. And I mean, the modern printing press is only a few hundred years old. So we're this age of being able to read things dominated for a long time, but we've had tens of thousands of years as oral storytelling creatures. The way we absorb story is through the sort of the hero myth, the going on an emotional journey where you listen to a story, you go through the emotional thresholds with these people, and that subjective experience, that emotional experience, you can then, with each threshold, give a piece of knowledge. That knowledge, like, what did they learn that got them from point A to point B on their subjective journey. And that's what wisdom is. I think wisdom, when you take knowledge and you take emotion and you put it together, take that empathetic journey, that's the wisdom that carries on through generations. I mean, it's a very common notion that, like the World War II generation, they had a lot of wisdom. We're now 3 generations on from that wisdom has not been passed along thoroughly. I mean, the knowledge of what happened during the Cold War, what happened during World War II, is very limited. And we feel that you tell the important stories. I mean, in terms of the pandemic, there was so much that happened. I mean, severely disrupting and destroying the destructions of lives through the policies of lockdown. I mean, people who did not receive critical medical care, children who lost precious time developing skills and pursuing their dreams, children who were suffering mentally from being stuck at home all the time, parents who were mentally suffering from being stuck at home all the time, and addictions through the roof, child abuses through the roof. We're going to be reeling for years in terms of the society-wide trauma that happened. And everyone has their own story. Everyone you've ever known and everywhere you've ever been also had to deal with this. Everyone's going to have a discrete story of their own that's going to be relatable to the stories that we want to bring to bear in this film, to impart that knowledge and figures and data that we think is so important for everyone to know. But you have to have that empathy for people to connect to it.
And are you guys, I believe I saw that you're kind of allowing people to contact y'all and relate their story and then possibly have it featured at some point in one of these one of the 5 parts of this?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, we have a form set up on the soundmindcreativegroup.com website, so people can go there and there's a form on there and they can submit their stories. Anyone can email us too. We have soundmindcreativegroup at protonmail as well, protonmail.com. So, again, both with personal stories and also anyone interested in contributing, perhaps creatives that are interested in helping out. But yeah, people can submit their stories there, and we've been receiving a lot, and we're going through them. And yeah, we're obviously anyone that submits anything in there, none of it will be in the film. We'll contact anyone and certainly protect privacy of everyone that submits anything, and have proper releases and all that if we do feature any stories. So, but we're looking for stories. That will pull on the heartstrings, because that definitely needs to be a part of this, and there are so many stories like that out there, and not a lot of them are being told, certainly not by the mainstream. So yeah, that's where people can submit stories there.
I want to follow up on that a little bit, in that there's this tendency to see pulling on the heartstrings as kind of being manipulation, and I think it's important to recognize that a lot of these stories aren't being told because of the paradigm of the mainstream narrative. A lot of these stories that should get out there are not getting out there. So in a way, it is to draw people in emotionally, but it's also to get on the record the terrible destruction that these policies have wreaked throughout our world, and make it plain that there are consequences to these actions.